All right, awesome. Welcome everyone to today's coffee chat. We're really looking forward to our discussion today. We have Anubhav Saxena, CEO at Chooch, a leader in AI vision, and we have Rich Severson, VP of Solutions Engineering here at Stratodesk. A few quick items. We are recording today's presentation, so we'll make the recording available to you afterwards, as well as more information about Chooch and Stratodesk if you would like to learn more. We're going to have an informal discussion today, podcast style. We'll try to make a little bit of time for Q&A at the end. Feel free to enter your questions in the Q&A box or in the chat. If we don't get to your question, no worries. We'll try to reach out with an answer to you over the next day or so. And without further ado, let's go ahead and take it away. So go ahead, Rich.
All right. Well, Daniel, thank you. And above, thank you for joining us. So the purpose of today's coffee chat is kind of just to bring the opportunity to share technologies across our mutual or joint customers, I guess, if you will, right? Introduce what Stratodesk does to Vision AI and what Vision AI does for Stratodesk and why we're bringing this together. It was interesting that Anubhav and I actually had an opportunity to present together at a different event, and it was one of those things that led to let's share our technologies across different customer bases. And so with that, Anubhav, tell us a little bit about yourself and about what you guys do. I think it's really interesting, and I think this is going to bring a lot of insight to a lot of our customer base, certainly.
No, absolutely, Rich. Yeah, and thank you for having me. It was a great event. And you obviously had a very, very good presentation, very powerful one. And we thought about, how do we actually align ourselves moving forward? So yeah, so Choose stands for choose and search. You choose which camera to search for what you want. We make cameras intelligent. It's an AI technology or a bunch of large vision models that can do several use cases across many industries. So we work with the four, branches of the Department of Defense, the Space Force, Air Force, Navy, and the Army. But there are dual use cases, and they're dual because whatever you apply for the defense can be applied to the commercial sector in manufacturing, in retail, in smart cities, in healthcare, and so on and so forth. So it's a very interesting time. There are 45 billion cameras in the world. The cameras are dumb, they're not intelligent, and they need the brains behind it, which is the AI. And our mission is to put the brains behind every camera in the world. That's what we do. We're headquartered in North America, but we have global operations.
Wow, that's actually cool. So, and I'll do a quick intro about what Stratodesk is, and then we'll get into the whole solutions and how everything works. So, Stratodesk, obviously, we have no touch OS. We build a high performance, secure Linux operating system for today's modern computing environment, and we find that a lot of people be able to repurpose or reuse their existing devices and make them more modern and more contemporary and take advantage of stuff that they already have, which kind of is what led us a little bit more to this conversation. Because one of the things that I found really interesting about your guys' technology is the fact that you can use existing infrastructure. It's not like if somebody says, hey, I'm interested in AI and I'm interested in the video intelligence, but I don't want to have to go out and do a forklift upgrade or buy a complete video infrastructure. So tell us a little bit, how does that work?
Yeah, that's a very good point, Rich. And you actually, I was very impressed with the statement you made in the event, which is you've already made the investment. Now, how do you maximize the value of the investments you've already made? And that's what's the value of Stratodesk, right? I mean, you're securing the endpoints and you're just making it extremely manageable. That's exactly how we see the world as well, Rich. I mean, for us, our clients and partners have bought cameras. They're already doing some very basic stuff with cameras. They have lots of human beings sitting down and watching those cameras. And guess what? 99.9% of the time, nothing is happening on those cameras. So the camera investments have not been maximized, and you have humans sitting on the other side trying to watch for things, for anomalies, for incidents, for events. And most of the times, nothing is happening. So what we actually said to ourselves was, okay, how do you maximize the value of your current investments? Don't change anything. Use your existing cameras, use your existing servers, use your existing VMS systems, and just put the brain behind it. And the brain actually can detect for what you're looking for. So case in point, Fire and smoke. Wildfires are big, rampant, all across California. We've gone ahead and actually put the AI behind those fire actually cameras across all the departments to look for fire and smoke. The only thing the camera is looking for or is for fire and smoke, and it takes away the whole burden of millions of people trying to look at those cameras when most of the time nothing is happening. Now you have a computer does an API call to the cameras, boom, it gets back a response saying whether it sees fire and smoke. And it's interesting because those cameras can see better than humans can. They have a wide field of view. They have a very, very high resolution, and they can see tiny specks of smoke in distant locations, which is absolutely great because when that happens, you are able to avoid wildfires. And again, a lot of the wildfire problems in California weren't seen last year because we believe that the AI was working. But if you shift this back to a retail situation, inventory management, supply chain, slip and fall, loss prevention, shrinkage, front of the house applications, back of the house applications is all about PPE, safety, inventory management, loading, unloading, receiving docks. There are just many use cases there as well. So it's increasingly becoming understood and adopted because these are very secure cameras. There's high security. There's watermarking that's taking place. Clients don't have that question anymore about, where's my data and where is it being stored because they have their own storage systems. They have their own cloud. This can be actually installed on the edge, on the cloud, or in a hybrid. And all of a sudden, now you've got something that's very meaningful. It's actually detecting, understanding, and alerting at the same time.
Well,
And
sorry to interrupt. One of the things
no,
about the loss prevention and the cameras, you brought it up, right, is that the cameras are always paying attention too, whereas your loss prevention staff may, be on a coffee break or bathroom break or whatever. The cameras are always there. And so, question for you on that. So, assuming that like in the loss prevention case, they've already got the loss prevention infrastructure there. They've got people monitoring the cameras. How does the Chooch fit into that? Is there a cloud service that the video feed goes out to the cloud service as well, or is there something that has to be added to the infrastructure? How does that work?
Yeah, it's a great question, Rich. And what happens is, so loss can happen in many ways. There's a loss that happens at the self-checkout register. There is loss that happens without a register at all, where people are just involved in things that they should not be involved in. And so what happens is that those streams have to be real time. And because they have to be real time, they have to be processed on the edge. So the whole inferencing of what's taking place happens through an edge server. So we actually send in an appliance with the AI on it next to the VMS system, which is actually so it's actually called as the camera management system. And our server just keeps pinging each of the cameras to look for suspicious behavior and things like that. But all of the inferencing has to happen on the edge because it takes forever for the cloud streams to go up to the cloud, get inference, and then come back. And clearly, the cost benefit is very low because you have to pay for huge bandwidth costs. So reduce the bandwidth, process on the edge, give the alerts on the edge, and boom, it starts to work. Now, you do have the value of the cloud, that is analytics and things like training. So for future training purposes, you actually store the videos and so on and so forth. But the active work is actually being done on the edge for these mission critical and time sensitive use cases.
So, and I know we talked about it before, and obviously we talked about the loss prevention and the fire use case. But if I recall, when we originally talked about this, you talked about the ability to manage product placement and traffic control based on the AI recognizing where people place their eyes when they walk into a store, kind of thing.
Very good point, Rich. Yeah, no, interesting. I didn't realize this till I actually visited a couple of our retailers. They actually sign contract compliances on the shelf on the products of their suppliers, and they sign a contract saying that we'll be compliant. It'll be appearing on this particular shelf at this particular time, with these kind of inventory levels. And most of the times, the retailers find themselves out of compliance. So they haven't stocked it in the right place, at the right levels, with the right level. I mean, on the actually on the right side of aisles. So what do the suppliers do? The suppliers actually end up sending humans to the stores to take pictures of the non-compliance, and then they upload it, and then they have a manager reviewing it and then calling back the store saying, hey, you're out of compliance. Now, here's what happens. There's a lot of dissatisfaction in that entire workflow. As you can see, there's a human being or a set of human beings showing up at the store, trying to take pictures of the out of compliance. It gets uploaded, it takes a few days, and maybe in those few days, while it's being reviewed, the retailer is back on compliance. So the retailer comes back and says, no, I'm compliant. You can send your guys again. The guys show up and say, well, that wasn't the case day before yesterday. And all of a sudden you enter into a dispute. So yeah, contract compliance, absolutely. Then liability to the store. Sometimes there's water, there is coffee drops and things like that. It's wet. And a lot of, the guests actually like you and I are there and we slip and we fall. Whose liability is that? It's actually the stores. And so for all of these things, the unusual anomalies, contract compliance, slip and fall, safety things as well. You might have, we've had actually instances where carts are stacked up next to the aisle and they're actually tilting. And they're tilting because of the weight, and they can actually just roll off and fall down, breaking the stuff but injuring people as well, the liabilities of the store. And so just these use cases that the cameras can detect, it's almost like the human eye. If the human can detect it and understand what's taking place, action can be taken. That's what the cameras do.
It's interesting, all of the different use cases from traffic flow, loss prevention, and actually, I was just thinking through this. You mentioned the military stuff. I can see like with military contractors where they have to certify and verify how things are being assembled and built and who has access and all to be able to take an existing infrastructure, the cameras, et cetera, and add that intelligence to it. To me, it's interesting, it's cool, and it's also frightening. I mean, and I'm just making this up going on the fly. I mean, is there any concerns from a consumer perspective where your privacy or anything like that comes into play with this, or?
Very good. Very good. No, and there is a lot of concern and privacy for all the right reasons. Like, I mean, none of us want to be monitored. None of us want the Big Brother attitude. None of us want our videos to be stored and actually processed. And yeah, so for all the right reasons, there are privacy concerns. But here's the way that we actually, I had the chance to talk to one of those very, very big founders, CEOs, who actually had multi-billion-dollar exits in the 80s and the 90s. And that was when all the risk and the Unix computing machines were coming in. They were being sent into large banking back offices to actually process the transactions. And everyone said, where are your servers going to be, how private, credit ratings and, everybody's accounts and all of that stuff. And that gentleman said, look, I created a multi-billion-dollar organization, like 60 to $100 billion organization. And he sold his company to Oracle at the time. And he said, I would tell the clients after a while, just get over it. Yeah, so, you're being monitored by every search agency, by every advertising. When you do a search and a find on your browser, you're being tracked, right? But we kind of take a slightly different view to this. So, I'm reminded by something that happened, 2 weeks ago. We work for a very large hospital chain, and the hospital chain has about 100,000 nurses and doctors. And what we're doing there is helping them with the inventory management or supply chain management. And the COO of the hospital chain actually sends me an email, says, hey, I really need to get through to my employees to tell them that they're not being monitored. And because these are nurses and doctors, and they're trying to grab storerooms, they're going into the sterile processing department, the cath labs, the ORs, the med surg, the pediatrics room, and they don't want to be seen as grabbing, syringes and tapes and et cetera, et cetera. They want to be doing their job. And we actually had to write a note where we said that, look, these are top-down cameras. They are discrete cameras mounted on the racks, only looking down at the SKUs that are being picked up.
They're not monitoring the individuals, they're monitoring the products.
Just your products. And we actually had to have people go in to show that the only thing that you could see there were the products and the hand that goes in that grabs the products and actually takes them out. That's it. And with that, and the problem we were trying to solve is, can you actually send an automated demand reordering signal when the product reduces? So currently the nurses and doctors have to eyeball the count and then enter the count as to, I need this much of product, which is a waste of time. They'd rather be, with the patient and, that's a mission critical job. But they were standing and counting that stuff. And these cameras now can count and also send an automated signal to the supplier to reorder when it reaches a certain level of threshold. Now, that's AI in action, looking at the bin fullness, the product SKU, the lead time, all the computation without having a human to manually count it, only looking at the SKU and nothing else. So privacy concerns are big, but you overcome them by things like, oh, I'll host it in your location. The videos will be stored in your location and then, of course, deleted. And clearly, we have face masking. I mean, the goal here is to get the analytics to help, not to provide the unnecessary oversight, as we all see it.
So, and this is going to lead a little bit to why we're doing this together. But so it sounds like, being able to take advantage of the existing infrastructure is cool. Being able to, I guess, if you will, put in an appliance that helps analyze the data and the information. Now, I'm guessing that as part of that, there's rules that need to be set, the process of the controls, and that's done via the appliance. How difficult is that to set up, configure? Do you guys already have stuff already in place?
It's fairly straightforward. No, it was a difficult problem, but we've managed to, kind of get over it. And the way you get over it is to actually create, say, a container of AI applications. So it's basically kind of a container. Your large vision models are in it, which are the AI models, and you're able to actually leverage a Stratodesk, agent to not only manage it, control it, centralize it, but also deploy it. So it kind of gets deployed over, several, endpoints, as we call it, so that you have those endpoints that are secure. And these are all containerized virtual systems. So that's the way it's done. So let's take an example. Uh, there's a client that has 13,452 stores across the globe. There's no way humanly I would be able to send humans to each of these stores to actually, install it, test it, tune it, et cetera, et cetera. So the way to do it is to actually create a container, take it to the first few stores, manually get it installed, and then actually through a central deployment system, deploy it to all the 13,452 stores. So it's kind of a central deployment mechanism that allows us to actually deploy it in the most cost effective manner possible. And I love the fact that that Stratodesk has over the years actually created such great platforms and technologies that's possible. So that's exactly how we do it. Whether it's a retail, manufacturing, smart cities, or any of these applications, I think that's the right way to do it.
Well, and I want to be clear with everybody on the call. We haven't done this yet, right? This is why you and I are talking, right? This is we've talked through that we believe that the solution fits. We believe, we are mutually compatible technologies where we can help you guys, and those kinds of things. So, and that's for the reason we're doing this. We wanted to reach out to our mutual customer base and say, we believe we have a fit. We just need to
Yes.
find the project to make sure we can go execute on it. So, so don't anybody ask, say, hey, I want to do Stratodesk with Chooch AI today. We don't have it done yet, but we believe it's something we can do. We just need the right opportunity. So think about it, right? Whereas, as you mentioned, right,
Yeah.
you've got the Chooch controllers in, multiple retail locations or those types of things, and you need to be able to manage and configure and control that. And that's where Stratodesk comes in. So,
Well
so I just
said.
wanted to be clear with everybody so we don't
Well
get a
said.
bunch of phone calls.
Well said, Rich. And what I liked about our presentation, and it was by chance that we were at that event together and we were, standing and presenting together. But before we went up and after we came down, we were talking about our clients and the work we're doing, and we had surprisingly a very big overlap between, joint clients. And what I always find fascinating is that, we wait for our clients to bring us together. We don't actually bring ourselves together first to go to our client. And if we'd known each other before the event, maybe we would have done something that was really, really well for the clients beforehand. But again, as I call it, destiny always has its timing, and it was a place that we met. But we have many joint clients who have invested in Chooch and in Stratodesk, and maybe there is an opportunity to optimize even further.
Yeah, and actually, there's a question in the chat that says, how can we take advantage of AI thin clients and VDI use case environments? And actually, I think they're actually different use cases, different environments. So if you think about it, an existing VDI environment would be in place today, and you may be using VDI in retail, much like where the presentation we were at. And then you say, well, how do you bring the two together? So the advantage is you could introduce or take advantage of the camera, the infrastructure that's already in place there. You could obviously be managing your thin clients with Stratodesk already. And then how would you bring that in? Well, to be clear, with the Chooch AI, there are some specific hardware requirements. So we couldn't just throw this on a general thin client. So, but you could, because of the way that Stratodesk OS is built, being a high performance secure Linux OS, we can add the other components to be able to manage a Chooch controller. So now you can actually put the two environments in parallel. And this is one of the things that we at Stratodesk are trying to make sure that people understand. We're not a VDI company. We build an operating system, a really, really good operating system and an enterprise management platform. It just happens that we get used in VDI a lot. So, and again, the whole, bringing not only retail, but manufacturing, industry, everything, and bringing the two together. So,
Yeah, that's
um,
very, no, that's
yeah,
extremely well said, Rich. I'm sorry, I interrupted.
no, go ahead. I
Yeah.
kind of lost my train of thought there as well. So.
Oh, no, sorry to interrupt you on that one. But yeah, no, exactly right, Rich. You said it so well. The only thing I would add is that we have an integration of large language models and text with the images. So increasingly, what we are seeing is people have huge repositories of videos and images inside of their enterprise because they've just been storing all the videos, whether it's for surveillance, safety, for retailing, merchandising, et cetera, et cetera. There's just many use cases. And no one has actually unlocked the latent value of the images and cameras. For example, there's a very large logistics firm that we work with, and they continuously have people cutting into the fences to run right in to steal stuff. It's a large logistics facility. And so, but they have, years of data to look at because they've just recorded that. The question they have is, how long does it take to look at a year-long data? It takes a year, right? So, yeah, so you have to have the ability to write a text prompt or a prompt, as we call it, which is large language models, and actually query the database saying, let me know how many times the fence got broken into. That can be done through actually a VDI piece. It doesn't need to have any critical thing because the text goes to the entire images slash videos, queries it, and then comes back with a text response in over 55 languages, right? So very, very simple use cases. A lot of our clients are using VDI and thin clients to actually use the text interface to actually log into, say, a structured database for unstructured stuff like videos and images to get responses.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of it yet. That is where, VDI does come into play in this too, right? But I just want to make sure everybody's
Yeah.
clear that, it doesn't have to be a VDI environment to do this, right? So, because again, although we do get used primarily in VDI, we have the capabilities of doing browsers and different application sets and being able to log into different databases and controls. So it's important. So. Well, with that, I think we've got about 5 minutes left, and I haven't seen any other chats coming in. I mean, is there anything else, Anubhav, that you wanted to just add to this? I mean, again, I think this is amazingly cool technology, and obviously, everybody sees AI as being part of the future, right? So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, the time is now, right? I mean, why should you care about it? Why should you think about it? And why should you be a part of it, right? Is the question. I mean, historically, computer vision, AI vision was not technically feasible or economically viable. It wasn't technically feasible because you need huge amount of compute and that compute wasn't available. So you had a problem. It needed a huge amount of bandwidth. You didn't have the bandwidth. So it was a problem. So many problems compounded together made it kind of look like it was not technically feasible. Now we've overcome all of those issues, low code, no code. The technology takes much lesser GPU, CPU power. Network is not an issue because it can get processed on the edge. We talk about that. And hence the business case and the ROI actually moves fairly quickly, right? So that's the good news. Now, the question is that, if it works, can I afford it? And, we've never had a business case issue or an ROI issue. Most of our clients actually have found a way to use their innovation budget to prove it. And then, of course, go out and actually roll it, at full scale. So that's not a problem. One thing that I would encourage everyone, that's on the call today is if you want to actually experience it, the first and the fastest way to do it is to go to either your Android App Store or your Apple App Store and actually download an app called as Image Chat on your phone. Image Chat is an app. It's also available as a web version. Once you have the app down there, you can take a picture of anything that you want through your camera's phone, and you can start interacting with it. So let's say I have a golden retriever and he's playing in the backyard and the front yard and all of that stuff. I can take a picture of the golden retriever. I can interact with that picture. I can write to that picture on what I want and it responds back to me. I could do that anywhere. And it's kind of very funny because a lot of our clients actually downloaded the app first and they saw the art of the possible and they said, oh my God, I mean, it's so intuitive. It's pre-trained, 4 billion parameters, 40 million classifications, 55 languages you can write to it. And that's how they actually reached out to us. And they said that, hey, is this really serious? And are you really doing this? And so, yeah, so why don't you just experience AI vision yourselves by downloading image chat?
So I'm going to kind of put you on the spot a little bit, and I'm going to talk for a second and then give you an opportunity to do it if you would. Just because I understood the app, could you put in the name of the app into the chat? That way we can all see it
Yeah.
as we look it up. And I want to go back to what you were just saying, and that's kind of again the advantage of putting the two different solutions potentially together is the fact that you don't have to do a huge investment. You can take advantage of the existing camera infrastructures, the existing tools you already have in place from an imaging perspective, as well as take advantage of if you've already got Stratodesk and/or thin clients and other devices and the management capabilities. So bringing the two solutions together is the reason we're here today.
That's exactly right. I keep going back to the point that you make, always, Rich, which is so well said. You've already made the investment in cameras. You already made the investment in, machines. You already made the investment in everything that you already made the investment. Now it's time to maximize it. And, if you can maximize the value investments that you made, you're in the right place. I think the worlds we live in have to be safer. They have to be brighter. They have to be happier. And anything that we can use, I mean, I always see technology as a means to an end and not the end. If it can help any of us be much more happier, safer, brighter, smarter, then why not?
Well, actually, and we're at the half hour mark, and I think that's a brilliant way to kind of end this. I mean, have a happier, brighter day, right? So again, thank you, and hopefully everybody found this informative. And I look forward to doing this again. Anubhav, it's great to see you again. So
Absolutely. Likewise, Rich. It was great to see you again. And thank you to everyone for making the time.
so Danielle, did you want to wrap up?
Yeah, thank you so much. Just as a reminder, we are recording today's coffee chat, and we'll make sure that we send out the link as well as more information about image chat and where you can learn more about Chooch and Stratodesk. We'll make sure all that information is in there. So look for that follow-up email. Thanks to everyone for joining today. Thank you, Rich. Thank you, Anupam, and have a good rest of your day.
All right. Thanks, Anubhav.
Take
Cheers.
care. Thanks. Thanks both. Bye.
Thank you.